So, supposedly Donald Trump is starting a streaming service that is going to contain all of the canceled shows, which is stuff like whatever Tim Allen's fucking show was.
Firefly.
That kind of stuff is in his head. Yeah, but that's what I was thinking. Is like it's actually just the canceled shows. They're just like trash shows, not the ones that were canceled for political reasons. The ones that are just trash.
That would be pretty
Community.
Yeah, right.
Soon to be there will be duds.
Right. I was trying to figure out if that would be like actually a low key good streaming service, because it would have some like good shit on it, like Community, Twin Peaks, maybe.
Oh my god.
Like that's what I'm saying, is it would have like all this like right wing like OAN type shit, and then it would have like some actually really good shows. No,
yeah, I don't
just have it
know,
cut
man.
to silence. Just have it cut to silence, and then we'll be like, that'd be good.
Is this part of Truth Social, or is it like a brand new streaming service?
It probably is. It's gonna like branch off, but what would the name be? Like Trump News, Trump. It would have something
TV.
Trump in it.
TNT.
Yeah.
I don't know.
TNT
Trump
is
Flicks.
a good one. Trump Flicks. Yeah, I like it.
Welcome back to There Will Be Duds, people. This is episode 49, and I am your co-host, TJ, aka J Spot Jack Cheese, and with me, as always,
I'm Nick, aka Dr. Funk on Twitch, and with me, as always,
I'm Travis, aka the Super General.
And as always, we watched a movie this week. That being Grey Gardens from 1975, directed by David and Albert Maysles, Muffy Meyer, and Ellen Hovda. It is a documentary in the cinema verite style, which follows Little Edie and Big Edie Bouvier Beale, cousin and aunt, respectively, of Jacqueline Onassis, wife of JFK, as they live out their lives in their crumbling estate mansion, Grey Gardens, in East Hampton, New York. And that's pretty much it. The movie just kind of follows them day to day for a period of time. And it just kind of really it really focuses on their sort of eccentric characters. We'll say that.
I think you nailed it on the head when you said, "That's it," because that's it.
Yeah, I mean that is
it.
It's very, it is cinema verite. That's kind of one of the things that it's known for pioneering, or at least kind of making more, like bringing more to like the public consciousness, which is a very cinema verite is just like a very direct, matter of fact, life like not trying to express any, add any. It's not like a David Lynch movie that's very anti-cinema verite. This is literally just like point the camera at people and they're doing stuff. And that doesn't just mean documentaries, but
it doesn't really have a narrative. It kind of lets its subjects reveal or not reveal, or sort of tell their own story in their own way.
Yeah.
Which, man, this documentary gave me a whole lot of conflicting feelings.
Yeah. Same.
But primarily the feeling was kind of just gross and sad watching this.
Kind of.
And go ahead.
I mentioned I almost, because I recently like took out a chunk of my movies from the cup, just that I don't know, I just felt like I could wait for later, or that I didn't need in there. I almost took this one out of there because I've known about this movie for a really long time, but I never wanted to really watch it because just what I knew about it and what clips I'd seen from it, it always was unsettling, so unsettling to me. But then I was like, oh no, for that very reason, I think I need to leave it in.
Well,
I need to make my friends feel shitty.
Yeah.
That's my first note. This is a huge bummer. This is my first note. I was like, man,
It's a very
on.
Nick movie choice of you. Just very like, hey, I want to make you feel crummy. Yeah, I was also uncomfortable like the entire time. I was like, at first I was like, okay, I know this is supposed to be like a well-known documentary. It's supposed to be like something interesting, and it never really got interesting. The only times where like kind of the setting even changed, I would say, is like when the people came over for the birthday party, and you think like, oh, maybe this is like the big scene where it's like something changes, and no, it didn't. It was just more upsetting because the people that were there were so uncomfortable. Like, you can't have them sit on those chairs. Oh, it's okay. I'll put paper down, and she just puts newspaper down, and it's so uncomfortable.
And you better not sit in those chairs. They look very dirty.
No.
They can sit on paper. I thought you were going to clean up, Edie. I tried. I swept the floor. It's your mother. May she live to be at least 80. No, it's one more year. Ha ha ha. She said her 79. She said her 79. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
like,
you know,
even
they've
right
got plenty
now,
of
I'm
newspaper
getting
because they
chills.
have 50 cats,
Right.
Yeah.
which was also like a
At
huge
least.
bummer to see.
Yeah.
I thought about like cramming all of my cats in this room with me for this. But
Yeah.
One of your
Peter has
cats could take a
49.
shit. One of your cats could take the shit behind your picture of Saxon Charbino.
Saxon Charbino.
yeah.
At least somebody's using it.
Yeah. Well, I had messaged TJ about this a little bit earlier, but this is definitely a movie, at least for me, where I think like the subject matter is going to, you know, kind of take a backseat to like discussing everything else about this movie. Like, I don't know, this made me like think about like the nature of like documentaries and like
Exploitative.
exploitation versus
Yeah.
because you know at the point in their lives they're basically they're like living in poverty, they're like bankrupt, and they were paid to do this documentary, which is kind of an ethical dubious
Right.
thing. Like,
And
are
they're
they
clearly
acting?
not completely sane.
No, they are not.
Right.
Well,
Yeah. There's a question of like how much that. But yeah,
Wait, Nick was
they got
finishing
compensated for it. Oh, he wasn't done.
No.
no, you're
Sorry.
good, you're good.
I thought he was done. They were compensated for it, and they also like took share in profits. So just like any other like, you know,
Right.
somebody who was acting in like a not documentary movie would be like, actors get paid a
Right.
salary and then part of the profits. So
But that's kind of like, oh, you can't really put a dollar amount on exploitation. You're still like
I
know,
think
it's like
I think the
child sex trafficking becomes okay if you give the child $1 million or something.
right, yeah,
It's
and
like,
it's exactly like that.
She
Yeah, it's
did say
exactly
that she
like
had Epstein's number. Did you catch that?
right. Yes. I did.
I was like-
I did.
Hold up.
Yes. Very, yes, definitely. I said, yeah, all caps, million question marks. Whose address? Epstein?
Yeah, me and Travis had like kind of talked about this the other day, but it is like there's a weird. I think where I fall in is like it's a gray area, a gray gardens area between
Yeah.
exploitation and more just like not. I guess what's the opposite of that? Like the goal with like a documentary is you know, understanding the subjects. I don't know what's the opposite of that for a documentary, but I
Right.
think it's somewhere in the middle. And again, sure, you can say that maybe they weren't all there, but both of them, like, there's been like they both approved of the film after seeing it. And actually how this came about was that the directors were approached by Leah Radziwill, which is another cousin of them and Jackie, who wanted to make basically essentially like a filmical photo album of like their family. And then like the only people that the directors cared about were Little and Big Edie. So they like
Right.
filmed a bunch of stuff with them, much to Lee's chagrin. And basically the Edies were both like, yeah, that was a lot of fun. Let's do it again. And the directors
Yeah, of
were
course
like,
they get rules.
Okay, sweet. So they like went back, and then I guess both of them approved of the final product, and little Edie even like went out and like wrote stuff like articles like defending the movie and stuff, and whatever that says still about exploitation versus not, but
right.
If in their own minds they got money, they're fine with it. I don't know.
I guess, but
that's why
kind of,
it's like, yeah, whatever.
I think it's different. It's one thing if you're like just poor, living in poverty, and somebody approaches you and we're like, I'm gonna make a documentary about you. It's not necessarily going to be flattering, but we'll give you money. That's still kind of exploitative. But then like you throw in the mental illness of the whole thing, and they haven't been officially diagnosed as far as I know, but like there's very clearly something not correct going on with like how they process stuff, and that's where it goes into the like uncomfortable, because it's like, oh yeah, she signed off on it and they did this, but it's kind of like, yeah, but do they know any better? To them it's kind of like almost like Tommy Wiseau, where it's like he kind of took it and just like ran with it. The same, but like it's the same thing as where like everybody was laughing at him, they weren't laughing with him, but then he's kind of made it so that, oh, you're laughing with me now.
But and that's kind of my point, is like what I was reading about the aftermath of the whole thing. It's kind of like they're fine with it. They like the movie, and again, they got compensated. So like, really, if they're okay with it, and it's not like they're so incapable that they are like, they don't need to. I mean, they probably could have needed some help, but
I don't. Yeah,
they
I
weren't
don't
like
know.
catatonic.
I think Travis's point is that like it's a person consenting to something, but it's like they don't have the faculties to really understand.
Right.
Okay.
And the difference between this and The Room with, or like, Tommy Wiseau is like, Tommy Wiseau did that to himself, or Neil Breen for same example, I guess. They did it to themselves, where it feels exploitative is where it's a third party coming in, and it's like, I don't know what their purpose was. Like this whole thing feels like purposeless. Like it's just to like, hey, here's some like crazy ladies that we've ran into, and look at them.
Well,
there's no arc of a story really. There's no they don't like I just don't know what they were trying to achieve with the documentary, other than like, here's some people that exist that are weird.
I think it's
it's not. They're not randos. They're not random people off.
They're
the
not
street.
randos.
Like, they are like Big Edie's husband was like a very, very wealthy person. Mm-hmm. They were socialites. Like, she had her like recording career. Like, there's records of her singing. So it's like, I think maybe in the 70s it may have been like more of a public interest, especially with like the beginning. They were talking about like the house basically being condemned, and people were like, oh shit, Jackie Kennedy's aunt is like, they're going nuts. Like, what's going on with this thing?
Right.
And so it was a matter of public interest, I suppose, because that's kind of, where I felt conflicted, where on one hand I was like, this feels kind of gross because they're clearly like not well. Like, she's sleeping in a bed like covered in papers and plates and shit, and just it's like it's really gross.
With a hot plate next to the bed.
Yeah, with the corn. What is up with Jerry? This weird, like, Andy Kaufman looking, like, just traveling repair guy who is like has some sort of weird relationship with Big Edie. Ugh.
Yeah.
Like,
well, she makes really good corn.
Yeah, if you offered me a bedside hot plate corn cob, with like some just probably room temperature margarine, no, absolutely
prepared
not.
by.
I'll tell you where you can put that corn cob.
Yeah, he specifically asked. She's like, "Do you want butter?" And then he goes, "Yeah, can you do it for me?" And she just got her bare ass fingers that she hasn't washed in
covered
at least
in
a week, right? And she's like, yeah, he eats. He's like, this is really good. He always compliments me on how I cook my corn.
Corn is out of this world.
Oh, did I do it nicely? He always compliments me on the way I do my corn.
Yeah,
my corn.
You boiled the corn. Like, congratulations.
You're seducing Brandon Dassey. Like, do you want some corn? Oh no! Like
that. I feel like a dick now because I just made fun of her for I can't say on one hand.
Yeah,
like,
Travis,
oh, it's
you can't.
exploitative.
You can't make any jokes
I'm calling
this
myself
episode,
out.
Travis.
So before I was going to talk about Jerry, though, this is kind of what I was getting at, where like I felt yucky, I felt like this was exploitative, but on the other hand, it's like the way that little Edie talks about like, oh yeah, I could have been this and that, and like my mom took me back from New York, and that's why I didn't take off when I was in New York, and I could. It's like these people are like so delusional and narcissistic, and they squandered like their inheritance and trust fund and all of that money, and it's just like I in some ways I'm like, I don't feel bad for you. Like there are so many people that live in like worse conditions than that, and you're just like singing and dancing and like putting on a show for the camera. Like I think little Edie, I mean this is my own speculation here, but I think little Edie was like putting on a show. I think she knew the cameras were there, and like I think she was acting extra weird for the camera, and like, you know, telling this glamorized version of her life story while her mom is just yapping in the background.
Yeah.
Just constantly. Like it was my subtitles were fighting with each other because it was just like she'd be talking about some random shit and then you just hear yoo-hoo.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say for like 5 solid minutes. Edie.
I'm like,
Edie,
God
yoo-hoo.
damn, shut up.
Yeah.
Oh, I got that one up. That's the man, this is the woman. I can't tell. Are you getting me to do something? I'm putting up the silver masks. Edie, come here, hurry. I can't get the thumbtack in the wall. I got the saddest life.
Yeah, I don't know, because she definitely was hamming it up a little bit. There was times, maybe the most uncomfortable I was, besides the birthday scene, was whenever she would get really close to the camera, little Edie, I mean, she would get like really close to the camera, and you could tell she was like singing to the director. It was mainly when she was like singing, and it was like, okay, like really, I was like, I don't know, that's just like so uncomfortable for me. It was like, because at the beginning she's like, oh, I've got to find a Taurus, man, or I forget, or Gemini. Libra.
Yeah, she's like talking about the astrological signs and shit.
Yeah, it's like, and I was at that point I was kind of like, oh well, they're supposed to be like, you know, kind of wealthy and they have connections, so maybe that's what it is. Maybe she moves out or something. But no, it is just like wallowing in your own despair. Like, yeah, to me it is like little Edie is just like depression, just like in like acted out. It's so sad to me, because I struggle with that. So like seeing it, that's probably another reason why I like get uncomfortable. And I think normally I feel kind of like if something's like well represented with that kind of thing, I feel like, oh yeah, cool, somebody understands me. But this was just like, I don't know, it was like shining a flashlight on it and like poking it with a stick, and like it didn't feel as like, heartwarming is not the right word, but it doesn't feel as like
meaningful.
Right. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. Purposeful. Yeah. That's better.
I mean, I think that is the crutch as to whether or not you can like kind of get like enjoy the movie, I guess, because like I said, I'm in a middle area where it's like I don't know, it's all the things that I already said. I don't want to repeat myself. All the stuff that I said before, where it's like, yeah, you know, it's kind of exploitive, but like, and like then you got to ask that question about like pretty much any documentary that's about like, people, you know, about like, you know, no name. I mean, again, we did say these aren't like complete randos, but still, they're, you know, when you look up little Edie's Wikipedia page, it says she is most known for Grey Gardens. So there's that.
Right.
But, you know, then it's like, you know, do you bring up like stuff like American Movie or Making a Murderer? These are like people who aren't well known, who were given a stage in this movie, and those very, very different subject matters, extremely different subject matters. Yeah. But yet they all have the same air of like, look at these eccentric people, huh?
Did you see on her Wikipedia article that like after this movie she went on to do like a small tour?
I did.
And
yeah.
like and like they
Cabaret
would
thing.
they like hid the negative reviews from her, and they just said it was
did.
just like delusions of grandeur, like just nonsense.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
I think the biggest I don't want to say laugh, but like when she just had such a struggle session to recite the poem The Road Less Traveled, and she just she could not get it to say for I was like this feels significant, like the fact that she thinks that, you know, she took the road less traveled, and it's like living in squalor after being like immensely rich and having every single thing handed to you, and then you're like, yeah, I moved back from New York City to the West Hamptons in New York to take care of my mom. Like, that's my road less traveled. It's like that's not what that poem's about.
Right.
You didn't really make any sacrifices at all, really.
Yeah, it's. I mean, like, yeah.
I'm gonna come across as really harsh about this, but I was just like, these rich assholes, man.
Yeah,
I feel bad.
I mean,
I feel bad for them, but it's like it's.
Yeah, I meant to get back to that. The whole like them being like American aristocracy also did kind of make some of it a little easier, because it's like they did squander all of this, but again, how much of it is their responsibility? How much of it is like, I don't know. Like we said, they were never diagnosed, so nobody knows if or what they had.
I mean, it might not have even been like an actual mental thing. It could have just been like, you know, people who are rich, they just like, oh, I'm rich, so like I don't have to give a shit about anything, such as like making sure my kids aren't like mentally handicapped. That's almost what it felt like, like a nurture thing, not necessarily a nature thing, if that makes sense. Like
I would say that their relationship was like very parasitic. Like they depended on each other, but also, holy shit, they sounded like they hated each other sometimes.
Right, but I'm even just like their mental capacity, it almost seemed like that could have been a nurture thing instead of nature. And it's like, I do feel bad in more of like I guess like an immortal sense, that they like, you know, just like mentally weren't there. They were rich for a period at least. And yeah, so it's I see the conflict there a little bit, but I don't know, for me it's like, even I don't know, it's like, yeah, you're rich, but I don't think it's necessarily like the people, I guess. But it also brings into light that like, yeah, these people were rich and they were aristocrats, and those are the people that are still rich and still the aristocrats, and they're like still in charge. That type of person, those people who raise those children, that kind of shit still is happening today. So it's like, yeah, those people are still like up above us.
We all march together for life is a fun. When they do that, that's when the plane goes by, see? So I'm doing the VMI marching song, which is a ground maneuver. Anyway, I gotta get it all coordinated in my mind. Hey, Mama!
Yeah, and I feel like this is kind of an indictment of the way that people from that era, one, behaved, and two, you know, raised children. I feel like, you know, when you're thinking of those very high, you know, elite families like the Kennedys or the Beals or the Rockefellers or whoever, like, you know, this is kind of like a peek into, you know, I guess the weird black sheep cousins that you don't want to think about.
Right.
And it's like, you know, in a way, it's kind of like a peek into that world that otherwise no one would ever see, because like they spend so much time like maintaining that air of properness, and like this kind of shows the detrimental effects of that, where just like, you know, it's very ironic to be like sitting in a bed full of cat shit and papers with your tits almost hanging out, and you're like yelling at your daughter about like not being proper, or like you need to lose some weight.
What are the
And it's
lyrics
like-
to this song? It seemed like that was 90% of the conversation. Like, oh, how does that song go? No, that's not it.
And also it kind of bummed me out because, you know, through I don't think my parents listen to this, but just like they do that thing where like parents form like core memories of things that happened like 30 years ago, and it's almost just like a pull string toy where it's like, yep, I remember that too. Yep. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no.
It's like every time I like visit my parents or my grandma, it's the same like core memories. Oh, do you remember when you were 6 years old and you used to do that? Like,
Yeah.
I don't remember it, but you've been telling me about it my entire life.
Or like little Edie, she does the other thing that old people do where it's like, oh, I was talking to Lou Williamson. You know Lou. He heard it from Andy Kaufman down the road that Louisa Graham had another kid. And it's
Yep.
like, I have no fucking clue who any of these people are. You know that the world is not like 100 people per town anymore, right? Like there's more people that exist. There's a big world out there. I don't know who these fucking people are.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, I guess maybe on one hand it's kind of sad that like you're not connected to your own community necessarily, but that's not really the point. The point is that, yeah, fuck them. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, I just
My cat's throwing up.
I was
Nice.
gonna say that like
Awesome.
put a picture in front of him real
Can
quick.
you hear it?
Can't hear
No.
it, but that's just so perfect.
Oh, you'll
It
hear it
is
in the
perfect.
episode.
You kind of do have big Edie vibes, so that kind
Yeah.
of makes sense.
Yeah, which one of us is the... Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm probably little. Nick is big, and Travis is Jerry. I think.
I'm Jerry.
I
For
think
sure,
Travis
yeah.
that's
Jerry's
our layout.
Aquarius, so I'm definitely Jerry.
Big Jerry vibes.
Yeah.
They pointed that out.
So-
When she's
Weird.
looking at the book and she's like, Jerry, what are you? And he's like, Aquarius. And I was like, hell yeah, Jerry.
The marble fawn.
Yeah, the marble,
The marble
fawn.
fawn. Oh,
It's weird
this
how
was
she just like
such
she
a battle
just
of
had
transatlantic accents too. Just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
she just had all
Yeah.
these names and terms for things, and you're just like, oh, that's
I guess
what
that's
she
a
means.
70s thing.
that's a little Edie thing.
Yeah, that's I thought it was like you said the thing about the transatlantic accents. I was like, yeah, it's transatlantic Gilmore Girls from the 70s. But they
I am
they
so
never
glad.
left the town. They never left the town. Rory never went to Princeton or whatever.
I am so glad that you brought up Gilmore Girls because I told Chloe what movie we were watching. She's like, "Oh, I think I've heard of that." And then once I described the plot, there is a scene from Gilmore Girls where it's Rory and Lorelai sitting on the couch and like they're watching Grey Gardens and like
Really?
they show scenes
Oh,
from
shit.
the movie.
That's
and
funny.
it's one of those scenes where little Edie gets just like right up in the camera and like does she draw on her eyebrows? Because it looks like sometimes
Yeah.
she has
Yes.
eyebrows
She-
and then other times they're just gone.
She had.
I think maybe she does like the backing thing.
She has
Oh, yeah,
alopecia.
Right.
That's why she wears the wraps. So yeah, the eyebrows are drawn on.
But I could have sworn at some points you could see like gray hair like sticking out from under her wrap.
I
think
mean,
she
it's
did it.
possible.
I'm pretty sure
she
it was like
still-
stress induced alopecia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like she wasn't born with it.
Like maybe it was after 20 years of living in fucking
Right.
squalor.
I mean,
You
they
could see
show
how that
those
adds stress to
pictures, and
somebody.
she's got hair. It
Well, yeah,
was
I mean,
just like,
alopecia can come on later
right.
in life.
Yeah.
Like Jada
Yeah.
Pinkett
Yeah,
Smith.
it's literally
I'm gonna do the show
Lorelai
like
and,
this
and
You're gonna do the Edie.
they're sitting on the couch and then they're like, oh, I think they're misunderstood. Oh, I think they're interesting. Like they do that really, snippy,
Right.
quick-witted like Gilmore Girls dialogue. But then the scene kind
Bickery.
of ends. They're kind of like, maybe that'll be us someday. And then they kind of smile, and then both their smiles kind of fade, and they're like, oh, and then it just fades to black.
Yeah.
Well, at least that's good on them for being self-aware, I
That's-
guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's probably
this
like
is your logical
season 5.
conclusion.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I was going to bring this up earlier. Have you guys ever seen any of the YouTube page Soft White Underbelly?
No.
It's like almost all of the videos are black and white, and they're like, it's like interview with a heroin addict. and then like Interview with a Prostitute, and they're really like
Right.
revealing. There's this one guy who that
This
I
sounds
watched.
Really familiar.
They did like a recurring series with him, and he was kind of like in and out, relapsing with like heroin and stuff, and it's kind of interesting. But they did this one.
I've
It's
seen
called the
some of these.
Whitakers, the Whitaker family, and it's
Oh,
like
yep.
a severely inbred family from West Virginia, I think. Probably makes sense.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And that kind of gives me this. I have a similar vibe with that, where it's like
There's an
really
X-Files
uncomfortable.
episode on those guys.
The Whitakers.
I think Nick knows what I'm talking about.
Home.
Yeah, I just like I watched like some of those, and it's like those people are clearly mentally and physically handicapped, and
Yeah.
it feels a little bit. I don't know what they can't spend like give all of their money to them, but they do the same thing where they like got donations for them and that kind of stuff. But same
Yeah.
vibes of where it's like I don't know how to feel about this. Like it's just wildly uncomfortable from top to bottom, really.
If you look at the Soft White Underbelly page, and then you go to their videos, if you find the Whitakers, 2 videos to the right, there's a crystal meth addict that looks just like
Yep.
Walton Goggins.
Oof.
Oh yes, I know which one you're talking about. Actually, yes.
Yeah,
lost it.
I've seen
Anyways.
clips of that like on TikTok before. Like they'll take the YouTube video and like they'll cut it down into little pieces. But apparently, like it's very hard to get them on film because like all of the neighbors in the surrounding area are like extremely protective of them because
Yeah.
obviously they cannot like do anything like on their own, and they would be extremely easy to take advantage of.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is it's to me it's very similar where it's like the reason that they're protective is because there's probably other people that come and like fuck with them. I would imagine,
Yeah.
and these people don't really know any better. They don't know right from wrong. They don't know up from down really. It's
Yeah.
like. Your cat just jumped when you snorted.
You scared your cat. You
Oh, did I really?
You snorted, and your cat went, huh?
Yeah. But yeah, it's just like but they like give them money, you know. So, but it's like I still don't.
Yeah.
I don't feel comfortable watching it still.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll keep this quick because this is a complete tangent. But I was just scrolling under the Soft White Underbelly, and then there was people also watched, and it was scariest things caught on live TV, and like arrow pointing to like this thing or whatever, and the
Yeah,
thumbnail
sure.
was fucking Teddy Perkins from Atlanta.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
If you watch closely, you'll see a very strange, partially disfigured man, and it's like he's on the screen.
Yeah. Anyways, transitioning from what Travis was talking about to something more important that I'm surprised that we just glossed over.
The corn.
Maybe it's because they didn't fully show them, but the almost titties that they were teasing
Oh,
the
yeah.
entire movie.
I
And
was
was
gonna
like-
bring that up.
I was thinking boobs to rival Kathy Bates and About Schmidt.
I don't know. Those are rough for me. But yeah, that was like the first thing I thought. Like there was like a really close shot like immediately, and I was like, I better check and make sure this isn't the director's cut. I know in the past I've always said I'm a fan of free boobies. Doesn't matter where they're from, but no, you can take those ones back and
Yeah, I mean the way that they like framed Big
Recycle 'em.
Edie, I feel like they had to know what they're doing. When the first shot of Big Edie, she's like framed in a way where like in a very
Right.
Neil Breen way, you just see the
Oh yeah,
the top of her chest and
Yeah.
shoulders, and you're like, I'm like, because she does say, she's like, oh well, I'm about to strip naked to get a tan or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh god, are they gonna?
I think they were being like courteous because they do it later when they go to this other bedroom for some reason to eat pizza, I think, and Edie's like singing the song and
The
little
worst
Edie
pizza
singing the song
I've
and
ever seen.
yeah, and Big Edie's sitting there and she's like, "Stop singing that song! I can't stand it." and it just sounds like every other song they've sung the
Yeah.
past. Like all those old fucking songs sound the same exact. It's the same exact. It's like country to me. It's like
that
the
like
same
semi
thing.
operatic like
Right.
It's
Yeah.
and she's like, no, you don't have the right technique. You're not properly trained. Like
Right.
And then as soon as she leaves, she's like, oh, she has a much better voice than me.
yeah.
yeah.
But there's when they're shooting that scene, like it's actually kind of like a back and forth where they're actually kind of like fighting a little bit, and they keep trying to get Big Edie, but she's like bending down and she's got her
Oh yeah, she's
her
like
bathing suit on,
catch
and they
it.
keep going like this to like it's shot really awkwardly because her tits keep falling out.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, I mean, even Big Edie's voice. They played the record, and she starts singing. I'm like, you just sound like any soccer mom, any 40-year-old lady who just goes to church and like sings like.
She does special music on Sundays.
Just the falsetto. Like I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
sing. I'm just gonna go falsetto because that's what you
there's
do.
there's
sing.
definitely a church lady that went to my parents' church that was her whole thing, like sang
Right.
exactly like that. I will say though, I mean, if you're a boob guy, this movie sucks for you. But you know who this movie even sucks worse for? Foot guys.
Oh.
Maybe some of them like
Just-
that filthy, that nasty.
Yeah, they like it nasty.
Yeah,
But
I
some
mean, if you
some like them old and
if you
saggy
go to
too.
you go to WikiFeet, like Big Edie is like pretty low on the list. I would
Oh,
say.
really?
Is there?
Okay.
You know what? I'm gonna find out.
I was just gonna say I shouldn't say
What's
this
her
because it's definitely way too mean. But like maybe her feet might be on villains.fandom.com too. I take that
Hold on,
back
all right.
immediately.
Okay. I typed in Big Edie, but I'm gonna do the Edith Ewig Bouvier Beale
You would be
WikiFeet.
That's why you.
Nope. No, there's not a hit.
dang.
Not any hits. I can just type feet and see what happens. This is I'm
You're treading in dangerous water here.
I am.
I
I guess
Yeah.
that's when she's younger. Oh, it's just all little Edie.
Oh, okay.
I would not have clocked little Edie to be 58. Like when she said it at the very
Yeah, me
beginning.
neither.
Oh
when-
yeah.
At the very beginning, when she's like got the whole shawl on her face and she's talking, she's like, "Yeah, I'm 58 years old," and I'm like, "What?" And
Yeah.
then she does those horrific close-ups, and you're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I get it now." But the fact that like Big Edie kept telling her how she needs to lose weight, and it's like, she does not look bad for like
No.
a 58-year-old woman.
No.
Yeah, well,
she's fine.
It's the same thing
She's
with the
not
singing
fine, but,
voice
you know
and
what I mean.
everything else they do. Like it's just this
Yeah.
weird, like negative parasitic
Backhanded,
relationship.
you
where-
know.
yeah,
They're
like
just-
the thing with
yeah,
the singing.
they're-
She's like to her face. She's like, "Oh, you suck. You're off pitch." Blah blah blah. And then she leaves, and she's like, "Oh, she's actually a really good singer." Like,
Well, and they talk about it's always about like they're just starting their comeback tour essentially. Like I just
Yeah.
need to get my voice back to where it was. I just need to get this.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
like
Uh-huh.
it's like that's their cuz they just don't really have anything to live for except so it's almost like they create these
I mean,
just
it's a-
unreachable things so that they have something to like live for
Yeah.
still, I guess.
Yeah, their whole house is just like everything else is cast to the side and uncared for, but it's like the nostalgia for like yesteryear is
Right.
what's keeping them going.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
all the photos, all the framed pictures and the paintings and the records, that's like all they have, and everything else is just like, who gives a shit? So yeah, throw that pizza box down there. Like, Cat's taking a shit behind that beautiful portrait of me. Like that's that's all they care about.
Cat's going to the bathroom, right in back of my portrait.
God, isn't that awful?
No, I'm glad he is. I'm glad somebody's doing something they want to do.
or throw the loaf of bread and like box of dog
The
food. down for the
raccoons.
raccoons.
Yeah.
That was my
Intentionally
biggest laugh.
feeding them.
That was my biggest laugh in the whole movie
Just
when she's like,
completely
"Oh, the
unhinged.
raccoons are out. Go take care of the raccoons." And then she's like walking up there and talking, and I'm like, "Oh, she's gonna
Yeah.
like shoo them out, right?" She dumps out the food, and I was like, "Hell yeah, dude!"
Yeah, and that's when she starts to formulate this conspiracy theory about Jerry like
The
leaving
book.
the book up there,
I
and
thought
it's like
she said
Jerry.
I thought she was thinking a raccoon took it up there, which I like.
No,
that
no,
better.
It was definitely Jerry, because that was when Jerry
probably
was
that.
was getting like, comfortable. He was eating too much corn.
Yeah, I know. I liked the theory that it was the raccoons instead.
In a
but-
corn-induced hysteria.
Right.
Okay.
I'll go first here.
Okay.
And I will say, man, this is a hard one to rate because I do think the discussion about the nature of like documentaries and exploitation, I think it's a very interesting conversation to have. That being said, I really didn't feel good watching any part of this movie at all. So it feels weird to like, I feel like I'm rating it in like in terms of like, I think it's culturally significant and important. So I'm rating it like an 8 because I think it's a discussion starter and it's like an important piece of, cinema. It's on the Criterion Collection, guys. I don't know if you knew that or not, but it is.
Yeah, that's why.
Oh. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, no, let me finish. But yeah, I'm gonna give it an 8. I think it's culturally interesting, but goddamn, was it not fun to watch.
I'm going to jump in because I want to basically rebut everything he said. Because I don't see how it's culturally significant. I just feel like it made an impact on like the discussion of like, is this good or bad? And it's like, but that wasn't the filmmaker's intent. And for me, it seems like with documentaries, it should be like, here is the director's intent. They're trying to get this thing across, and not like it. To me, it's almost like a Tommy Wiseau, like, oh, well, there's this other thing that this can actually be about. And I don't know. I was just completely uncomfortable the entire time. The only good thing that came out of this was the Bill Hader, Fred Armisen episode of Documentary Now, which is really funny and good. So I'm giving it a 1 because it's dog shit, and I don't understand the point of this movie at all.
Okay.
I hated it. I hated every second of it. It was wildly uncomfortable. It did not. I mean, yeah.
Okay. I think both of you are valid. I don't know what I was like leading into there, but yeah, I really liked it. Like, I was very uncomfortable the entire time. I 100% agree. But me being uncomfortable doesn't mean that I think a movie is bad or that I dislike it or that it wasn't entertaining. I was engaged the whole time. I think both of the Edies are very interesting to just watch, even when it is just them talking to the camera and doing their thing. They're very good subjects for a documentary, and I was intrigued the whole time. I was gonna try to watch. They did like 2 sort of follow-up documentaries that were kind of like basically like unused footage from this, as well as there was a TV movie with like Drew Barrymore and Jessica Lange playing them. I want to get around to them eventually, but I ended up watching that episode of Documentary Now, and now I'm just watching all of that show because it's fucking awesome. But I will eventually get around to the sequel, Grey Gardens things, because I thought it was really good. And I think as far as like what it contributed to, like we talked about it, like there's a lot of the whole cinema verite thing, like fucking reality TV. You can draw a line all the way back to this, like Keeping Up with the Kardashians. That's a Grey Gardens 2010, you know. But anyways, all that said, I settled on a 7 with this, because yeah, I think it is like decently like culturally significant. I think it's really entertaining. Yeah, that's about it. Speaking of being culturally irrelevant and entertaining, here's an ad break.
Welcome back to There Won't Be Nick. Today I'm joined once again by Nick expert TJ Taylor.
Hey guys.
It's been a while again.
Yeah.
We missed the last episode because there was some unfortunate things happened. Why don't you tell us what happened? What you've
well, I had to skip it because I found some I think kind of a big scoop on the story that we've been following so far. So I was really just kind of deep in that. So I apologize, but I hope me presenting the information I found kind of helps to make up for that. A bit of a smoking gun or smoking gunman, as you X-Files heads would all know. So I was watching the most recent Red Letter Media video, which is one of Nick's favorites on YouTube, as we all know. And in it, they were doing a sort of yearly catch-up, basically like everything that's come out in 2022 that they haven't like done a video on, done a review on, just kind of like doing short reviews of all this little stuff. And it started with them talking about the Batman and how they've never seen it and how they refuse to see it because of how much people are telling them to see it.
Wow.
Yeah, I think
this is interesting.
This is a big
I'm
scoop.
wondering now, maybe you can answer this for me, but I'm wondering if maybe Nick thinks that Red Letter Media runs A24 and Criterion, and so he just follows. He's just following the leaders.
That's actually a really interesting theory. I hadn't considered that, but
maybe for next time.
I think we have to find kind of the central figure
thesis.
There's one person that we can tie all of this back to.
Illuminati, Skull and Bones type thing.
Yep.
Right.
Nice.
I think I caught Skull and Bones type thing, so
No.
This is wild. No? Okay.
No. I mean, close, but no.
Are we back?
I'm thinking we're back.
Cool. So I saw the new Alex Garland movie Men a couple days ago, and I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. It was like between a 6 and 7 for me. That said, my favorite Alex Garland directed movie. Not nearly as good as Devs, which I talked about before and loved. But yeah, it was pretty fun. I don't think I would have liked it nearly as much if not for the two leads, Jesse Buckley and Rory Kinnear, who, if you guys didn't know, is Roy Kinnear's son, who played Mr. Salt in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Just a little fun factoid.
It's in the teeth.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, he's great. If you're like familiar with the premise, he plays like every character in every male character in the movie except for like one that's like significant to the main character.
Oh.
And he's good. These like all these like little subtle variations or some not so subtle variations.
Sure.
And when I went there, there was like 3 or 4 other people in the theater, and like 2 different groups. So it was like 1 person and 2 people together, or 2 and 2 or whatever. So basically, like the last like 15-ish minutes of the movie get really intense with some pretty striking imagery. Some very striking imagery that is like specifically designed to make people uncomfortable. And I know they were there for a while, but basically the movie ends pretty quickly after all this really, like, there's the climax with all this really crazy shit going on, and then it's like a minute and then credits. And the credits come up. I was the only person in the theater. I think. And I know they were there for most of it, so I'm pretty sure they all walked out when it got to that part, which is pretty awesome.
That rules. That's so funny.
And yeah, I like I said, it is clearly designed to like give you that feeling of like, ooh, this is uncomfortable.
Nice. I really need to see it.
But yeah, it was fun. It's been getting a lot of shit on at least Letterboxd about like, oh, Alex Garland making another movie about women, but I don't know. I think it's fun. I think it's a fun movie, and there's a lot of fun characters. So yeah.
I don't know. I think my Alex Garland movies, I like his stuff a lot more. Like I really like Ex Machina, and I really like Annihilation. I thought Annihilation was like you know, people, we've probably talked about this before, but like people talk about like we need more women representation in film and this and that, and it's like people think of like the Marvel scene where it's like girls get it done kind of shit, and it's just like people didn't watch Annihilation at all. It was completely slept on, and like all of the like female leads, diverse female leads, are like realistic and like are their own people, but you know.
Yeah, I don't know what makes this different, because those are both like critically acclaimed, like Ex Machina.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what makes this one different for people than those, but I thought I watched it and I was like, that was pretty spooky, that was pretty scary, it was pretty good acting. You know, it kind of did what I wanted, so I enjoyed it. Yeah, so but yeah, so that's Men. And now the next thing that I wanted to bring up, hot off the presses, is Bo Burnham's Inside Outtakes that he uploaded just last night. That I watched the whole thing. I guess I thought it would be a better discussion if Travis seen it too, but I thought they were pretty good. They're like, it's like, you know, kind of half and half, like BTS or alternate takes of stuff in the actual thing. But also like new material. There a lot more like comedic bits than I was expecting for the new one. But there's a lot of like I think percentage wise, like how much comedy versus music there was in this one versus the original one. There's like, it seems like there's a lot more comedy, but also the music in this one is still great. Like all the new tracks are pretty good. There's some that are like great. I love the opening song, which is like Welcome to the Future, or I'm Living in the Future. And then one where I had to pause it a few times, so I watched it in like a few different chunks. And there's one where it starts with this like really cool drum beat, and I was kind of telling you guys about this before, and I had to pause it there, and I was like, oh, that sounds like a cool song. I'm excited to like listen to that when I get a chance to listen to it again. And then I listened to it and he goes, the music cuts out and he goes, they're really gonna make me vote for Joe Biden. And like the whole song is about like it's like is Joe Biden really the best case scenario? And it's like all about that. And so that one and then the future were great. But yeah, it was cool. Not as like emotionally resonant as Inside, but it's not supposed to be. But
right,
you know, it's fun. It's a cool, fun YouTube version, and he plays into that because he'll have like pop-up ads, like YouTube ads, like in it. But you know,
right,
they're not actually.
Maybe I'll have myself a little double feature and watch both of them, and then just walk off my balcony of my apartment.
Yeah.
And walk off your balcony and then go see Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah, walk off your balcony.
Because they're both as likely to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
They fall into the same realm of never gonna happen.
And
then yeah, for our final topic, I watched this. I watched this like literally while we were waiting for Travis to hop in the call, so this is fresh off the presses for me. But I felt like it was significant because we've talked about him before. But this is directed by Alan Resnick, who is also in it.
Oh, okay.
He's the guy that's like pick up my rocks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that he directed it because like I saw it.
Oh, I couldn't tell because of the weird 360 camera the whole time.
The Francois Bourgeoisification of this whole thing.
That's what I thought of too.
Holy shit, dude.
So yeah,
Holy shit. It's insane.
And I was like, I went to Conor O'Malley's YouTube and I'm like, where is it? And then I went to his Twitter account and it's like, oh, it's on Vimeo. I wonder why it's on Vimeo. And then I watched it and I was like, okay, well that's why it's on Vimeo and not on YouTube.
It was on YouTube.
It was on YouTube. I watched it on YouTube.
It's not anymore.
Maybe it got taken down for
It probably did.
a couple reasons.
But yeah, it's very much in the vein of like stuff that he's done. Like I remember the first time he uploaded like the epic shit cheat meal, and it's like he's just got shit in his hands smeared all over his face. But I really like the sort of like weird psychedelic turn that he's taken, because he's done it before with some videos, but I think this is like the most the most intensely like psychedelic, weird out of body experience like he's done. Like the set with him and like his son in the desert in like the house or whatever. I don't know. Usually Conor O'Malley's whole deal is just like being out in public and just being that in front of people, and he kind of does that in this one too because he runs into. That's like one of the biggest laughs was he gets done with his psychedelic journey, and it's like, where does Conor O'Malley end up? Of course, it's Staples, or like some like, you know, it's going to be some like American, you know, like big box store, like retail or something like that, and it's like, yeah, of course. It's, what else would it be? He's like a Midwestern guy. It's got to be shit. Staples. It's still covered in shit.
And then then he's out in the parking lot. Yeah, put it on Facebook. Put it on Facebook. I really, really loved the whole like the beginning part is just like it's like a regular YouTube video and it's got the and then it's got like this little like guitar chime like DIY instructional video vibe, and then the end he's like, please fucking take me back. All I do is sit at home and jerk off thinking of your ass, and then he just cuts and he's like, thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe and like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Still covered in shit.
That's kind of like, it's kind of funny, like thinking of Inside. Like that's part of kind of why I like Inside so much is, especially the outtakes one where he spoofs all these like YouTube ads or YouTube style like things, or like he does a podcast bit too, by the way, in it.
Yeah.
Where it's him and himself as his co-host. It's because like he's really good at it, like the music, the production, the graphics, it's all so accurate. And yeah, Conor O'Malley's like the exact same way, like Fuck Coin, where he does like a spoof of like those like inspirational 1 minute like Instagram reel videos that you'd see. But it's
I think the same thing with the Epic Shit Meal. It had that like royalty free like now this video. Like if you've ever seen like a now this video,
that's
it's
what
like
heartwarming
turtle crosses the road, like that kind of
His
shit.
His version is damn for real
eating
is what
shit.
it's called, not now this.
Damn for real. That's right.
Yeah, that's what it says at the top. Yeah.
Or there's like he spoofs like travel ones with it's like top 10 Wisconsin Dells haunted houses for free pulled pork, which is like travel-y listicle videos, but
it's insane. The dude is like the modern day Andy Kaufman
for real.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of videos you can watch on YouTube.
Huh?
Yeah.
Oh no, that's after the movie recommendation.
Well, you better hurry up.
Yeah. Which is next week is our 50th episode, and also our more or less our anniversary. It's what we're counting as our anniversary, and it times up with the number 50, so it works in that sense. And to commemorate that, we're gonna do a special episode for you, and we are going to watch the Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy, which is on. I was trying to. Oh, it's directed by Gore Verbinski. I think that's what I was missing, because usually I have the little
Gore
slip
Verbinski.
So that's
fame.
Curse of the Black Pearl, Dead Man's Chest, and At World's End. We're not gonna start with like
the only ones
third
that
one.
matter.
We're watching 3 through 5. So yeah. Those are all on Disney Plus at the very least. Watch those before next week's episode if you don't want to be spoiled. These episodes come out at 7 p.m. EST in video form on YouTube and Twitch, as well as in audio form on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. We also have socials on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. So give us a like and give us a follow if you like. And with all that out of the way, I am your we gotta add in like another minute or two of us thinking of our names.
Not a lot of fun. Not a lot of fun ones with this one.
I am God damn it! I was trying to go with like what we said our characters were before, but I just can't think of anything for little Edie. Whatever. I'm your attic dwelling raccoon. I like that. TJ, aka J Spot Jack Cheese, and with me as always.
As always, I'm your hunky corn on the cob eating local handyman. Nick, aka Dr. Funk on Twitch. You almost
I almost said exactly that.
And I am the one who cooks the corn perfectly for Nick every single time. Travis, aka the Super General.
He always compliments me on my corn.
I always get complimented on my corn.
You are the marble fawn.
Hey.
Bye. Wow.
Good job.